That's a nice, long, smooth fade. Not what I actually am feeling, but what I'm feeling is, let's see, friends with benefits, says Scoble. Okay, welcome to the Gillmor Gang. I'm Steve Gillmor, and this is going to be a strange one. I can tell already. So starting from right to left, as far as I'm facing, from the original Gillmor Gang, Mike Vizard. Welcome, Mike.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
All right. So, and you're in New York State. I'm
in lovely Westchester County, just above New York City.
And what is the company that you're working for now?
Oh, I'm working with IT Business Edge, and we launched a site called CTO Edge, and it's all about emerging technologies as they apply to the enterprise.
Next, we have the lovely Robert Scoble.
Hey, what's up?
And Robert, where are you coming from?
Half Moon Bay, California, in my little studio with my new 27-inch iMac behind me.
Okay. And next we have a still portrait of Jason Calacanis. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you for having me on the program, Steve Gillmor. I hate that photo. Change it immediately or I'm leaving the program. Great to be here. I used the photo from the Wikipedia page. I look much more quixotic in it.
Well, no.
It's great to be here, though, for the last episode of the Gillmor Gang.
Get a freaking video camera. You can choose what image you have on.
I'm literally in a bathrobe right now. My hair is like a mess, and I'm going to the final sonogram for our pregnancy, which is 2 weeks left in it. Yeah, so I am taking the day off.
The due date is...
Taking care of my wife. December 10th.
December 10th. And do you know what flavor?
It's a boy. I mean, a girl. It's a girl.
You got half of that right.
It's either a boy or a girl, I'm told. No, it's a girl. It's a girl.
Okay, and last but not least, from the glorious state of...
Mike Arrington.
No, Mike's on vacation, I hope, in the Pacific Northwest. Kevin Marks. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi there.
And where are you?
I'm in Mountain View, Ribbit offices, hence the whiteboard and yellow walls.
Okay, what is Ribbit?
Ribbit is the Silicon Valley's first phone company. As in, you want to do phones on the web, do our stuff.
Okay, so in other words, a competitor to Google Voice.
No. Well, more than that.
So like boy, girl, it's no, yes.
Black, white.
Well, we've been around this a few times. Google Voice is a product, Ribbit's a platform. So, you said we're talking about Silverlight and Salesforce, and this week we had Ribbit for Silverlight and Ribbit for Salesforce shown off at both those things. The point is that it's a way to do telephony stuff, whatever you want to integrate it with. So it's plugged into everything.
All right, so Mike Vizard, you've been watching the technology world from the enterprise space. What's your take on last week's and this week's announcements, specifically Microsoft, PDC, Salesforce's rollout of enterprise Twitter, and Google's rollout of a browser that looks like a browser, but they call it an OS?
All right, let me take those in order of immediate relevancy. Salesforce is the most interesting thing in the sense that they are validating a conversation that's been out there for a while. People have been talking about the integration of social networks and CRM apps for a while. I think, though, that the integration across with other services is what's interesting, is because what we're really starting to see is almost a federation of all these SaaS type of offerings out there, and you're going to see more and more of this where different SaaS offerings are integrated with each other to create this kind of common look and feel and common experience for the end user, but they're actually using multiple services at the same time, but they almost have this kind of super mashup, or what we would call a composite application feel to them. So I think what Salesforce is doing is compelling, but not in of itself, but what it represents in terms of a long-term trend that we're going to see across all these SaaS applications.
All right, SaaS means?
Software as a service. Okay. Otherwise known as the software version of cloud computing. And that would bring us to Microsoft, and what they've done around Azure, I think, is pretty interesting, especially with, if you think of Silverlight as kind of the front end of that, I think what you're going to see is this big push to put applications up on that Azure platform as well. And there's going to be a lot of federation of those applications and a lot of integration that's going to change the way you think about using multiple applications together. And then finally, that would bring me to Chrome, which is kind of interesting technology, but it's not going to be relevant, as far as I can tell, till 2011 and beyond. So I'm not all that excited about Chrome. I think it's kind of nice. It's a science project, but I'm not sitting here going, wow, I can't wait for them to do something.
All right, so Jason, you on a Gillmor Gang about 5 years ago placed a bet on Google having an operating system.
Yes.
I believe the bet, which you lost, was that it would be within a year. So I'm looking forward to the sushi dinner. But now that they finally supposedly have an operating system, what's your take?
My take is when I make future bets, they will not have a clock on them, because obviously I'm a visionary thinker who gets it right in the long term but misses the over-under. Listen, it took them a while to get there, and if they took a long time to get there, that means that it's very important to them. When a company doesn't care, they put it out quickly. So ORCID and Google Knoll, these are projects that Google doesn't honestly really care that much about. Maybe there's people in Google who care very much about them, but they're not strategic and important to the vision of Google. This is a project that is critical to Google and their vision, just like Chrome is. And if you look at both of these projects, the Chrome OS and the Chrome operating system, they took their time. Android, they took their time. They got it right. My Android phone is better than my iPhone. And I didn't think I'd be saying that. And it's not just because of, the applications are free and I can load any software I want with the device I paid for. The Foursquare application I use, the Twitter application I use, the Gmail application I use, and the mapping application I use, which is probably 90% of what I do, and the web browser, on the Android phone is a better, faster, tighter, lighter experience than on the iPhone, hands down. And everything but email is a better experience on Android. Google is an operating system company. It's a software company, and it's an advertising company. They're the first people to put these two things together at scale, and they're going to win big. It is very important that Microsoft now make an ad network that works, and Microsoft is going to spend $5 billion a year, $10 billion a year making that ad network work, because the new model is going to be ad-based. And the operating system, as I said back in 1978 when we had the Gillmor Gang about this topic, the operating system, not only is Google not going to charge for its operating system, they're going to pay people to use it. That's the next shoe that's going to drop. People like Dell or Acer, which have very low margin businesses, are going to go through a renaissance. I'd buy Dell stock right now, because Dell will make more money from advertising revenue than it will from selling hardware in the next 3 to 5 years. They will have a revenue split with Google. They'll make $25 to $50 a year off of every computer they sell, year in and year out. So if you buy a computer, you keep it for 4 years, like a netbook, that means Dell can make 25 times 4, $100 in pure profit. That $100 in pure profit is going to be a lot more than the $50 in pure profit they get selling the netbook.
So this will happen in 2015, in other words.
No, that's when it will manifest itself. I think that you will, the same way, people converting to Apple was a 5 to 10 year story, that we've all started experiencing, intelligent people going to the better operating system. You will see over the next 5 to 10 years intelligent people going to the better product. It's a slow process. I mean, people like Robert Scoble will try anything new, but the rest of us mere mortals are going to actually wait for it to work properly. And Android, guess what? It works properly. I don't know if Robert's using an Android phone. I'm sure he is, and I'm sure he will tell you the Android phone is brilliant if he's used it for more than 2 or 3 weeks.
Did you? I've had it for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I totally disagree with you on the app quality. The Twitter apps I have on the iPhone are still far superior to the Twitter apps I have on the Android phone. But I've had those arguments with Arrington for the last 3 weeks. So we don't need to rehash those.
What about the browser and the speed of the phone itself? I mean, for a 1.0 product, you have to admit it's better than the iPhone 1.0.
than the iPhone 1.0, but that's not the argument anymore, right?
Okay. So it's better than the iPhone 1.0. It's as good as the 2.0. And where does it rank with the 3GS in your mind?
I still like the 3GS better, but it's to me the Android is a transition device. It's showing momentum change. The people I'm interviewing now are all developing for Android and iPhone and BlackBerry. I mean, I just interviewed Waze, which is a really cool crowdsourced traffic app. Which you might say, well, why do you need another traffic app on your Android phone when you have Google? But this thing was really pretty brilliant. It showed in real time because of the crowds. It showed road closures, and it showed even speed traps that were put in there in real time by people around you, and you could see other users driving around near you, so you know it's very accurate. And they're building Android and iPhone versions, but the developers are starting to really get excited about Android, and that, to me, the Droid at this point is a shifting. It's an inflection point, and I think next year is going to be Android's real coming out party for the normal users.
It's always next year.
I don't agree with Jason's timeline, but I think he's right about the amount of interest in Chrome as an OS as an alternative to Microsoft, because there are all these manufacturers that need to embed some sort of operating system into their systems, and they don't want to pay a Microsoft tax anymore. A lot of them were interested in Linux, but it doesn't quite do everything they want it to do. So I think
I don't know that it'll I don't know that it succeeds on a head-on attack like that. I see a whole new range of new kinds of machines coming. And I mean, I just filled up my Prius, and there's a Google map, a Google screen basically talking to me. And it's like, okay, why does that screen need to pay the Microsoft $30 tax or $50 tax? That screen doesn't need to pay that.
Yeah, but you guys are all missing the reality of the marketplace, which is it's not about whether or not something can replace Windows. It's about whether people want Windows or not. And I don't think they want Windows. I think they want Silverlight, and I think they're going to get it. And I think Silverlight's going to be dominant.
Why? Do you really think that?
Yeah, no, I don't. That's why it's called the Gillmor Gang, is because I don't think this.
I just don't. I don't see clamoring for yet another. What I do see
clamoring. I mean, what about the enterprise? The corporate environments where they are completely wedded to a rich UI, where they're completely wedded to.
What makes you think the web isn't a rich UI? That's the fallacy.
The HTML5 thing. How's that going for you?
It's going really well.
Well, how's that video stuff?
It's working. It's just shipped in all the browsers I use.
Yeah, we'll detect the micro delay in your response to the video question.
No, the video HTML5 video works in all the browsers I use. It doesn't work in HTML5 yet. We've got to do some. It doesn't work in IE yet. We got to use Silverlight there, which is kind of a pain. But
what's the pain about it? Did you see what they announced at the PDC about Silverlight being broadcast directly through to the iPhone? I mean, that's huge.
I didn't see that piece.
Yeah, I think they blocked it from the webcast, but they showed it. I have a transcript of it, and basically what they are doing now is broadcasting from Silverlight through IIS Media Server to PCs, Macs, and the iPhone.
Oh, cool! So they're supporting the HTML5 video stuff that Apple shipped to the iPhone. That's nice. That's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but how is that Silverlight?
But how's that Silverlight? That's not Silverlight the client. That's
the Silverlight. Loic Lemure debuted a Silverlight demo, I guess, of an app that he wrote in Windows. It took him 2 weeks to write the Silverlight version.
Yeah, and it has fewer features than the web version. So what does that prove?
It doesn't have it
does.
Versions.
It doesn't refresh lists in real time. It cancels out because the web version doesn't. It goes through their Firehose feed. The Silverlight version.
We had a lunch. Robert. You've already misinterpreted commentary about the lunch that we had with Ray Ossie and Bob Muglia. at that conversation.
No, I'm talking about Loic Lemur. I just had dinner with him the other night.
I understand. Shall we trade? We were all in the same place at the same time. However, the Silverlight is merging with Windows Presentation Foundation. Do you agree with that? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be any difference between Windows and Silverlight over time. Okay.
Right.
So instead of it being a single platform operating system, it's going to be a multi-platform operating system.
Okay. If you say so.
Yeah, I do. And what's your point?
It ain't on this.
I just pointed out that it was on this, and
no, it's not on this. Bullshit. But by translating something to HTML5 over from something else, that's not putting Silverlight on this.
The issue is developers. The issue is developers. If developers have a porting path to go directly from the PC to the Mac to the iPhone, that's a trifecta. That's going to be the dominant platform. I don't care what Android does, and anyway, Android is an open platform according to Sergey Brin. So if it's open, then you can run Silverlight on it too, which he answered in the affirmative about. So we've got, essentially, we're going to have two platforms that are going to emerge. One, which is going to be strong in the corporate environment, which is going to be Silverlight, and the other, which is going to be this browser that they call an operating system with Google. Now, I don't think that it's going to be a failure, as Jason says, but it's certainly not going to be dominant.
When are we going to see an Office or a SharePoint that's built in Silverlight?
Bingo. When do you think? Given the announcements this year. Last year, they weren't even barely talking about Silverlight as having anything other than a down-level experience. This year, they're talking about an identical experience that is, there was a guy...
My prediction, we won't see it for 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah, because I know how Office is built. It's all on C++ code. It ain't going to be ported. The guys who run the Office team will never, ever port that code. Same with Windows. Windows has no .NET code in it at all, period.
Who needs Office if you have a
Well, I asked you, when is Office and SharePoint?
Who needs Office if you have a Silverlight Office, which moves much more toward micromessages and much less toward the kinds of heavyweight applications that don't translate to the phone?
Well, I'd love to see that. I haven't seen it.
Now you're talking. We're getting close to
I've seen the Office 2010, the web versions. I have the beta.
If we had a meter, a little lever that showed, the top, which is the assertion, and the bottom, which is the apology, you're right about here now.
No. I've seen already the 2010 Office, so you're already talking about
2010 Office is a joke. Who cares?
Microsoft can only ship a new Office every 2 years. They're not going to ship a true web client that runs separate from the deliverable that comes on the CD.
On Silverlight, right. That's why when Ray Ozzie, the chief software architect, was asked about Windows Presentation Foundation, that it was a lousy name, why don't they rename it? He said, okay, how about Silverlight? What do you think that means? That's separate of
Office, though. The Silverlight, the Windows.NET team.
If you read my conversation with Bob Muglia, which was back in June, he was talking about how much of the server management software is being written on top of Silverlight. At the PDC, there were announcements all across the board about how Silverlight is being used.
New products are being written on Silverlight,
right.
But not Office and not SharePoint.
SharePoint.
Sorry, that's
now we can get to
you're parroting
SharePoint.
The same words that Vic and Dotra told me in 2003. Look at it was this thing called Longhorn. Longhorn's going to be built on .NET. It's going to be a rewrite. It's going to have all these cool features.
Robert, it's 2009,
and it didn't ever ship because it doesn't work.
2009, Robert, not 2003.
Windows has
Vic and Dotra is now parroting the same thing over at Google.
None. There is no .NET code in Windows. So when is Office going to have Silverlight, which is .NET? .NET is Silverlight. When is it going to have .NET? I don't know. When is SharePoint?
No, you said 5 years. I say 2 years maximum.
I'd be amazed.
The new Office, the Silverlight Office.
I'll buy you a steak dinner if it comes in 2 years.
Okay, well now I've got a sushi dinner from Jason.
Surf and turf, baby, surf and turf.
Exactly. We'll all do it in.
I mean, that doesn't take
Well-
away that Silverlight's an interesting technology and is definitely going
Interesting.
after developers. But it's like, I just know how Microsoft works internally. It ain't going to ship anytime soon on their major products. At least not their products being built on it.
When Ray said, when he
outside.
said, why don't we name it Silverlight, Muglia sort of went, ugh, like that. What does that mean?
.NET was never named properly, right?
Mike, what does that mean?
Is it possible that somebody else would build an Office implementation on Silverlight?
Yeah, like Mark Benioff, for example. Oh. Anybody want to grab that one?
Yeah, we already have Office on HTML. It's called Zoho. It's called
Zoho. Give me a break.
social text. Zoho actually is really
Google
nice.
Docs,
Google
yeah.
Docs.
They're all really
I
nice. I haven't used Office in what, 8 years now?
There you go.
Exactly. And what am I going to use when I start using Office again?
Are you
I'm going to use a
new
micro
Office
messaging
Use the
hub.
browser, I'm assuming.
It's going to be a micro messaging hub built on Silverlight. And it's
All right,
gonna,
Office 2010 Web.
it'll
is
be
built
here
with
within 2
JavaScript.
years.
It has hundreds of K of JavaScript code. It takes forever for that thing to open up, and it's not as efficient as using Google's Docs and spreadsheets, which were built from the ground up for the web.
Efficient for what? In the enterprise? You think that's true?
Opening up a damn spreadsheet and looking at your numbers. I mean, come on. What is the enterprise anyway? The enterprise just means you're working with a lot of people. That's all. Look at
Mike?
Salesforce.com. What does Salesforce.com have that it didn't have 2 weeks ago? It has Facebook in it. Come on. He copied Facebook and put that inside Salesforce. With this product called Chatter. It's really cool, but
If you insist, I'll explain all of this to you. But
Okay.
I'm going to get bored, and so will everybody else. All right, Kevin, why don't you argue with somebody? Just not me.
Just not you? Well, it's
Yeah.
okay. So there's a certain amount of juggling going on here. Underneath all this is the web is the platform. We all get that, and HTML5 is the new sort of moniker for saying the future of the web as app platform.
Future.
And present, yeah. But it's here now. It's running in all the browsers that I use, and IE is playing catch up. That's great. I hope they do play catch up. What I've seen from Microsoft recently is that they have a huge platform for developers who are building apps. They have a great set of loyal developers, and they're now making it possible for those guys to actually build open web applications rather than building stuff that's built on Microsoft stuff. That's a great development. I'm really, really pleased with that and excited about it. And if they can do that with Silverlight and bring that set of developers to the open web party too, that's wonderful. And that's all good. I don't think Silverlight is suddenly the answer to the future. I don't think Chrome OS is the answer to the future. Chrome OS is saying, okay, what could you do if you built an environment to support a browser really, really well and simply? That's what they've done. I don't think they assume it's going to displace every operating system in the world. I think it will fill a niche, and it'll encourage people to build browser apps in another place that they're already building them for. You can build web apps on the new generation of phones, thanks to WebKit, thanks to HTML5, thanks to the support that we've got both in iPhone, in Android, in everyone else is now getting with the idea that, it would be a really good idea if these things worked really well as web devices. Apple made that obvious. They shipped basically a browser in your pocket that did a bit of phone stuff on the side, and then that became a generative platform that suddenly everyone realized it. And you saw the graphs this week of the amount of web traffic coming from iPhones and Androids and other things, and how much that's growing.
Yeah.
So that's becoming
So
significant.
I agree with everything you said, except the reference to pre. I'm not sure what that is, but
I happen to own a pre, and I happen to like it.
how come? But you're a BlackBerry refugee who's screaming and crawling on the way to the iPhone.
Yeah, if somebody would put one of those round wheelie things in a pre, I'd be happy.
Round wheelie thing? What?
Yeah, the thumb roll.
The thumb
thing
roll
that used to be on the
so
old
that you
BlackBerry.
can scroll up.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so you did. Jason, do you have anything to say?
Microsoft it should not be counted out because people who are serious business users are very loyal to the Office products and have a lot invested in them. They will get those products ported to the web, and It'll be a seamless experience, and they are not going to roll over. Just like Apple did not roll over and die, I don't think that Microsoft's going to roll over and die. So I would not underestimate them. However, there is a fundamental problem in their approach, which is the open platforms, are bought into by key people in the industry over the ones that are closed. And it still feels like Microsoft and Apple are very closed, and this is giving Google just a tremendous window to go through and take their businesses. It's really stupid on the part of Apple, and it's really stupid on the part of Microsoft to not embrace a more open approach. I don't understand it. I mean, it's incredibly short-term thinking. I don't know why they're not long. That's really the issue here. I mean, the people who are building apps, the people who are going to evolve these platforms and write code to develop them to do the next generation of speed enhancements, etc., are going to want to do it in an open way. And Microsoft is fundamentally, to this day, is not embracing open source methodologies in their own software. So Chrome is something, and the Chrome browser is something people can get behind. I don't know that they can get behind Silverlight in that way. And if the most innovation, this is one of the things I've been thinking about a lot, is if you don't have innovation in a technology company, you have a dying asset. And if you look at eBay, AOL, and Yahoo as examples of dying assets, dying on the vine, MySpace is another example, what do these companies lack that companies like Microsoft, Google have? It's innovation. And Microsoft is still innovating. Google is doing tremendously innovative stuff. And what's the last 3 products to come out of Yahoo? What's the last 3 products to come out of AOL? What's the last 3 products to come out of MySpace? And people will say, I don't know. And you really have to focus on innovation in these spaces. Sometimes I feel like, although Microsoft is releasing innovative stuff, they could do so much more innovative stuff. And just the fact that these other companies like Yahoo and eBay have given up on the concept of innovation is just, while not unexpected, is confounding. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but it's sort of like Obama being a disappointment and sort of not doing anything he said he would. It's confounding, but we all expected.
I don't agree with that at all. But
well, no, I mean, it's obvious the guy has gotten none of the things done that he said he would get done.
Yeah, we'll see. If he gets pre-existing conditions, he'll be reelected. So.
No, I know, but I mean, we all knew putting him in, like, okay, we want to have this guy in there, but we know politics doesn't change, and Guantanamo's still around, and we're still fighting these wars, and it's a year later, and he's still spending money like a idiot, the same way the last idiot spent money like a maniac. There really is. If you took the behaviors of Obama and Bush and you shook them up in a bag and took them out one by one, you would not be able to tell the difference right now, with the exception of torture. It's pretty much they're the same guy. And so anybody who says any differently is biased.
I think the definition of idiot for one is down here, and for the other, it's not really an idiot.
Well, I'm saying, yes, that's true.
Except, Jason, one guy is keeping healthcare on the agenda, and the other guy was not. That's a huge
okay,
change.
You know what? Healthcare is 2% of what's important on this planet right now. I mean,
I don't agree with that at all.
Trust me, if you look at the things that are very important to the planet and long-term survival, healthcare is not one of them. We live too long. That's a bigger problem, is how long people live and population growth. If more people died more often, it would actually be better for the planet. I mean, it's a sick thing to say, but we could use it. We could cut 1 billion people off the planet, and the net result would be a better long-term strategy.
Oh, bollocks.
Jason's going to be on that fictional healthcare rationing panel.
Anyways, Steve, do we want to turn this into News Gang today, or do we want to get back to technology?
It's related because it is no innovation in politics. So if you can't see that, Robert, I mean, what we're talking about is some companies can't innovate, and Microsoft is, I think the one company that I can't tell if they're going to be innovating or if they're going to lay down like Yahoo and eBay did. What is your take on that?
Well, I think that's a fair question. Robert, what's your take? Are they going to lay down and stop innovating?
No, I think Microsoft is an infuriating company because they have so many resources and they aren't innovating up to their potential. So if you look at it from one way, they're not innovating the way that they should, but from another aspect of it, they're still doing some really interesting stuff, building out, bringing out tablet or table computers, Surface computers. The Xbox proves that.
I agree with Mike on that one. You can shake your head again. We didn't catch it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Xbox shows that Microsoft is willing to get into a new market and spend billions of dollars to do it. I call that innovation. There's $14 billion businesses or multi-billion-dollar businesses at Microsoft. That's more than anybody I know. Most other companies like Apple is happy to have a $1 or $2 billion.
Yeah, I think that what Microsoft does with their resources and with the responsibilities and difficulties in moving the aircraft carrier forward is innovative. The fact that we heard from Ozzy and Muglia and Robbie Bach in a conversation that I just posted on the network, we're hearing an incredible amount of understanding of what the so-called open web is about and how they want to fit into that and build on top of that. So, certainly there's going to be a tremendous amount of fear and negativity about Microsoft, just as there is beginning to be a similar concern about Google. But the reality is that this is not antitrust Microsoft anymore, and it's not, it's not Google's world to own, it's not Microsoft's world to own. It's a combination of that. Kevin, do you think that there are other companies that are going to emerge and be at that same level?
I think, the point is of having an open platform is that anyone can build on it, and that stuff can appear from many places, that you don't have to go. This is my test for openness is you can interoperate without knowing each other exist, let alone having to have a business agreement first. And this is the ongoing debate about is there one company going to create hegemony, or are we going to have open standards that interoperate? We go round and round this in circles where, someone just launched a new platform. Are they actually part of the web, or are they trying to siphon us off into something on the side? And what we're seeing is that even companies as closed as Apple and Microsoft are realizing that supporting the web properly is a key part of what they're doing. And that's a very powerful thing.
I think, though, with Microsoft, the definition of innovation is extending the size of the aircraft carrier, as it were. And to some people that has value, but to Jason's point, it's not innovation in the sense of cutting edge, and I'm hard-pressed to think when's the last time I saw Microsoft do something where I said, wow, that's cool, or that's game-changing, rather than saying that's innovative in that it's easier to use and it's convenient, but it's not radical.
Yeah.
Now, I'll name another company that I think is going to continue to rise and become certainly not equal, but certainly a factor in this larger company, and that's Salesforce. A friend of mine who's an open source developer. He's been working for a wine company for a long time, doing website development and back-end databases, MySQL, the whole works, and he's moving over to another. First of all, he's moving over to a virtual company, a company that uses outsourcing from Belarusia and things like that. And he's developing, his first assignments are to develop 2 or 3 apps for Force.com, on top of Force.com. This is an economic juggernaut that is going to have a tremendous impact. And that's what I think that the impact of Chatter is. Chatter is a collaboration framework and platform. And it's the first new one since Notes and Domino and Exchange were fighting it out 10 years ago.
It's the first new one that the enterprises will trust and understand, because Salesforce is one of those brands that every enterprise is dealing with already, or almost every enterprise. If I say Jive to the average CTO, he goes, "What?" But if I say Salesforce, he goes, "Oh yeah, I deal with Mark all the time."
Now when you say Jive, people start to recognize it because they have something to compare it to.
Yes.
It validates the entire marketplace. I mean, Yammer.
Absolutely.
We've been using Yammer at TechCrunch now for 2 years. We pay for it now. Salesforce is going to be essentially bundling, Twitter or Facebook or whatever you want to call it, as part of their existing customers' platform.
Yeah.
But as that thing expands, and as you asked at the Crunch Up about, is there going to be a public version? That is going to be the playing field where Salesforce expands into a major player.
Yeah.
And Salesforce is starting to have some pull where you're seeing not only are there apps showing up on Force, but Salesforce is also starting to get those apps into installations where Salesforce already is. And once that happens, then you're starting to see something that has some momentum and some clout. And I could argue that that's more significant right now than anything Google's doing in the enterprise.
Yep.
What do you think about that, Kevin?
I think we go around in circles here quite a lot.
That's the idea.
I'm looking at a different layer than you, perhaps. Maybe that's where it comes in.
Hello.
I mean, if you've got a set of APIs, you can build something against them on lots of different platforms. That's possible. That's what I was saying at the beginning. We're shipping Ribbit on Salesforce. We're shipping Ribbit for Silverlight. We're shipping Ribbit for
Why
Flex,
on earth are you shipping for Silverlight? What is that all about?
It's so that the Silverlight developers can call the Ribbit stuff. It's the same idea. We've got a set of things that let you do telephony. If we want the Silverlight developers to be able to call that, so we'll make it easier for them by shipping an SDK that maps the REST stuff that's underneath it into their framework.
So Kevin,
an SDK for PHP.
Do you agree with Ray Ozzie that all apps on all platforms are going to start converging, and that we won't care which underlying platform I use Ribbit on? Or here is Seismic, right? Seismic is on Android, it's on BlackBerry, it's on iPhone, and it's on Windows WPF right now, but soon to be Silverlight. Do you think the apps themselves are going to be undistinguishable between them on all these platforms?
No, they're not necessarily indistinguishable between them. The point is that there's, this is the discussion I was having with Jesse in the chat as well, which is that we're becoming multimodal. There's this debate, right? Does the client need to take over more, or are we moving stuff to the cloud? And it's a bit of both. If you think about the way that we use, what part of the success of Twitter is that it's multimodal. You can use it as a website, you can use it via SMS, you can use it via clients, because they've got a structured API that lets you do that, and you can interact with the same stream through lots of different media. And Seismic is taking advantage of that by building clients in lots of different places. The point of these abstractions, the point of these APIs is that both you can use them from lots of places in the way that you can use Twitter from lots of places. But the other part for me is that you can switch which pieces you're using. So if we have a common protocol on the back end for portable contacts, for activity streams, for this kind of stuff, we can use different services in the same place, so that you actually, as well as just switching which client you're using, you can switch which service you're using for the same protocol. And that's where the real generative power comes from. So if we've got a service that does something, like Ribbit does telephony, we build a REST API for that, then we build a whole bunch of glue code on different platforms so you can do that as a developer from different places, but we also build a client for Android, a client for iPhone, a mobile client, a web client, so that you can do that in those places too. The point is to bridge the different back ends and front ends and make that stuff work.
I think I agree with Ray Ozzie. I just wish he would hurry it up. I think you're going to see stuff used on premise. I think you're going to see stuff used in the cloud, and I think data is going to move back and forth, and ultimately I may not care what the container is holding the data, because I just really want the data to be available wherever application I'm using. Kind of the old vision we had for XML, and we're slowly but surely getting there once we get all this clutter out of the way.
Steve and Kevin, did you read my thing on super tweets, my idea of putting a new display surface underneath the, you have a tweet here and put a new display surface here that could have all sorts of pluggable things into it. It could have metadata that shows you how many times that tweet was retweeted. It could have a link to Yelp if it's a restaurant being talked about. It could have a link to Fandango if a movie was talked about. I was at SkyGrid today, and they're showing me a bunch of stuff that would go on to the super tweet. Do you think that is going to become a platform of its own that we're going to need to come up as an industry an industry as a way to plug into a new display surface that goes with these Facebook status messages and the tweets to put some new stuff in there?
I think that's the point of activity streams. The point of activity streams is to express in a general way these kinds of updates. So it's like we've already got this with feeds. Feeds are, here's a stream of events with timestamps and authors. Activity stream says, oh, there's a bunch of other interesting stuff in here. There's referring to other people. There's posting photographs. There's expressing media. There's expressing location. There's expressing interest in different things. There's a chunk of stuff that we're already doing on a lot of different sites. Activity streams is trying to converge that in a common format that we can use to express this, and therefore we're not relying on waiting for Twitter to add something to the API to do us that. Dave was writing today about why is 140 characters sacred? Why do we have to wait for Twitter to add features to this? And my answer is, well, we don't. We have to work on expressing this in uniform ways we can do in different places.
Who said that
hopefully
today?
bring Twitter to that party.
Who said-
Dave Weiner wrote that today.
What did he say?
He was saying, he said, why is 140 characters sacred? What he was saying was he wants to do pluggable things to tweets. It's a similar thing to what Robert was saying. He wants to be able to add different kinds of metadata that will then be propagated with it.
But he
I
can
would
do
say-
that. The thing I've been confused about from Dave in recent months has been he seems to insist that I think he's changed his opinion about who should be the owner of it. But for a long time, he was talking about how Twitter needed to be the keeper of attachments, et cetera, et cetera. I guess more from a simplicity of programming perspective. It never seemed to make sense to me, given the fact that he, when he developed enclosures, one of the most important aspects of enclosures was the fact that it was available. You could include an enclosure from any point on the network. So I don't quite understand why there's an issue here if what you say activity streams are about comes to fruition, which I think is another question. But let's say it does, then people can mash up that kind of metadata hub beneath any object that they want to.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need a law. We already have a law.
It just is going to take a few industry players to start the momentum, and then everything will switch. Where everybody will start supporting this new, and that's why we hope Twitter does it, right? Because it would be the best if Twitter said, "Hey, here's a new display surface underneath each tweet, and here's what you can put on that display surface, and here's a platform of APIs where you can shove your own stuff into that display surface."
Yeah, but
but it doesn't control the
with Twitter
display
doing
services,
that,
that's the thing, right?
and the problem with Twitter doing it is that then you get rate limited up your.
No, you don't get rate limited.
Of course you
by
do.
the way,
Every single one of those clients is rate limited.
No, not
if
this
they're
one.
not. No, the sweetheart ones that have deals at the moment have the full fire hose, but everybody else is going to be rate limited. I mean, that is in fact why they change retweets. I mean, why did they do this? Why did they pull retweets behind? Because they want to get around the 140 character blockade, which doesn't exist? I don't think so.
Search and discovery. And
that's nonsense.
Twitter has a problem of churn. They have a churn rate that's much higher than Facebook. They need to change their service.
I empathize with their business problems. I think
The problem. Okay,
no,
guys,
I do. I actually think that
listen to Jason.
they're a very important.
Listen
Go ahead,
to
Jason.
Jason.
Yes. Number one.
Listen to Jason.
Listen to
You
Jason.
sound
Really.
like,
Why
Listen.
am I listening to Jason?
Just
you
listen. for
sound
one
like the
second.
lady on V right now.
Yes. Don't ask any questions that would make people not trust us.
Yes.
Twitter is suffering from the same thing I described before, which is they, the sort of innovation. They are innovating too slowly. And when we look back on this moment in time, what people may say is, wow, they had this incredible opportunity, and they rolled out a feature every 6 months. It's really cool to go to a Tim O'Reilly conference or some Web 2.0 and hear the sort of minimalist design and less is more. But that's not true in the technology industry overall. More is more. More power, more storage, more pixels, better screen resolution, more features. And so people are a little drunk on this less is more. We need to get
Jason,
to more.
Jason, I think that was true a month ago. In the last month, they've rolled out retweets, they've rolled out geolocation, and they've rolled out lists.
Right. So basically 3 things in a year.
And what are
I'm
lists
still
good for, by
counting
the
it
way?
over the last year because these features
Lists
should
are
have been
awesome. We could spend a whole show talking about
absolutely.
why lists
But the fact
You
that they
notice we
don't have
haven't.
inline videos yet, or inline images yet, or their own image hosting yet, or their own client yet, they need to start getting these things in there. That's why their platform is not growing.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, when I look at Twitter
today.
today, it starts to feel more and more like a feature of other applications, and I'm starting to see Twitter show up inside of somebody else's unified client. I'm seeing it inside of Salesforce, and then I wonder over time if they just become a pipe because all the other people are going to just roll them in as a feature.
This is why they
that's
need
a
the
terrible
super tweet,
business.
right? Because
That's
they
what,
are
Jason?
becoming a feature of other applications, including Bing and including Google, right? Because when I search Google and search Bing, I'm starting to see tweets show up in the SERPs and the search result pages. But how are they going to make money off of that? They need another display surface that gets attached to the tweet where they can put ads and other things that they're going to monetize, affiliate links and stuff that.
But why do you care how they make money? You want to make money, right?
Absolutely. So,
Okay, so how do you make money on
their
their rate-limited metadata hub?
If they put a metadata hub or a super tweet in there, they should be sharing that revenue with me. If I write a piece of content, like I write, I love 2012, which I haven't seen it yet, but let's say I wrote a tweet like that. Why can't it link to Fandango and you can buy a movie ticket to that? Why shouldn't I get a few cents from that?
Oh, I agree.
And
that,
why shouldn't,
however, isn't their model; it's Facebook's model.
well, I haven't seen Facebook deliver this yet either.
Well, they tried, and they got hammered back.
They tried something different than that, right?
Anyway, I gotta go.
And-
I have to go to this sonogram. Let me just say this. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. I'd like to thank Earthling for sponsoring the show. I'd like to thank those people who made it to the show. I'd especially like those who didn't make it to the show. And I will see you next time, if there is a next time.
Thank you, disembodied voice.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to hear from you guys.
Thanks for
Good luck
doing
with
it,
everything.
Jason.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
See ya.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
All right, let's wind this down. Once around the table, starting with Mike Vizard. If Twitter's a feature, who's going to be the third power in this emerging arms race?
I'm not sure there is a third power. I think that the power of everybody is going to be dropped because the level of integration in these open environments that we're seeing, you're going to see hundreds and not thousands of powers rather than 3 powers. I think there might be a couple of big platforms that people move through, but ultimately the weight is going to be on the people who are owning and interacting with the data and less on the infrastructure and less on the platforms.
Kevin Morris.
I think that's it. I think that we're moving away from this being wars over this and wars over that to the web is a peace agreement. The web is a way of expressing common protocols that we can interoperate with, so other people can join in. And yeah, it can be hard for the larger players to accept that, but we're starting to see them do that, and that's the thing that encourages me about all this. That we're seeing Microsoft say, right, the web is a structural part of what we need to do, and we need to give developers tools to do that. That's really encouraging.
All right, and then Robert Scoble.
I compare Seismic on Windows with Silverlight or WPF, and it takes more RAM than running Silverlight in a Chrome browser on the same OS, and it has more features. So it seems already the developers have been building better clients inside the web browser, and that's why the Chrome OS is interesting to me.
All right, well, I think I've said enough on this show. I do want to thank Rackspace for sponsoring the Gillmor Gang. That's Rackspace, Jason. I want to thank Earthlink for sponsoring it way back in the early 50s. And I want to thank the fabulous people of NewTek for their TriCaster, which, by the way, performed incredibly well at the Crunch Up on Friday. And all those videos are available on the network, including a couple of interesting conversations that we all had with the roundtable is interesting. The conversation about the death of email includes the immortal phrase, something about Before the Robots Kill Us All by Paul Buchheit. So I think we have less to worry about. You better hurry up and see 2012 before 2012, Robert, because I believe that's called the end of the world as we know it. But maybe it'll be when Twitter gets a business model, will be the end of the world as we know it.
So the world will end before Office shows up on Silverstream.
Light. Silverstream Light, yes.
Silver Light Stream.
Okay, so this is Steve Gillmor. This has been the Gillmor Gang. I want to thank everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.